Yo guys, it's Ranger W here with the IPSL Season 5 Week 1 Power Rankings slash recap slash preview for Week 2. And today I'm joined by Jayreezy. How are you doing, Jay?
What's going on, guys? Doing pretty good, having a pretty good day. Let's get right into this.
All right, you heard Jay. He said, let's get right into this, so let's do that. We're going to start off by looking at the standings for the IPSL after week 1. We're going to talk a little bit about the 12 teams, and then we'll go into looking at the schedule and talk about the individual matches. So right now we'll just talk a little bit about their teams, and then we might look at their rosters. But for right now, we're going to talk a little about their standings. Okay, so starting this one off, the New York Pelicans are number one, with Schmepelak as their head coach. Is this a surprise to you, Jay Breezy?
Not even in the slightest, and the fact that he got a 6-0 doesn't even like I knew this was basically gonna happen. This is how Schmidt planned it on starting the season. So nothing nothing out of the blue here with this one.
Yeah, I'd say kudos to him for getting the 6-0. I know even a 6-0 against some of the worst players is sometimes kind of hard to do, but he did get it up against, I'd say, a moderately decent opponent. You know what I mean? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, his opponent. I mean, it wasn't you know not knocking on the Aberdeen Iron Storms and their coach, but like he's very much known for being an average around player. Not so great, but he's not boo boo trash either. So it was a pretty fair battle, but unfortunately, things didn't go his way. But the battle itself, when I watched it, it was just a really lot of odd plays that Yoshi made on his part. So I feel like in the future he's gonna have to make that up.
Yeah, we'll get a little more talking a little bit about the battle when we get to the schedule. But yeah, I'm definitely saying it's not a surprise he's at number one with the 6-0 win. Usually though, he does have a tendency of starting off a little slow, so it was a little nice to see him start off a little hot. I don't know if he can keep this hot streak going. I predict bold prediction right here. I think he's gonna get another 6-0 at least. You think I'm wrong there?
Uh,
At
in the
least.
season or just next week?
No, this season.
Interesting, interesting. I mean, I see it too, just because of Smith's skill. I honestly see not just two, I see three, maybe even four possible 6-0s coming up on
You
Smith's
don't, you,
schedule,
you
just
don't,
because
you don't have to
how
stroke
great
his,
of a battle he
you
is.
don't have to stroke his ego that much, man. Calm down. He's gonna.
I mean, hey, he's that good. Hey, you never know, man. You never know.
You sound like you're like your mouth's open. You're like, oh my God, it's Shmab. Oh, oh, okay. Anyway, moving on to number two, the LA Septile is a relatively newcomer, new kid on the block, I'd say. He's kind of taken over that role, I'd say, of the hiker, of what's it called, a pledge, of that newbie on the street who's just doing hot, like who's starting off hot, like you know what I mean? You know what I mean? How that always
Yeah,
goes.
like kind of like what's his name, LeVar Ball, or for football people like Deshaun Watson or RIP Deshaun Watson. He's like that right now. He's starting off real hot, new face, and he's trying to put his name out there as a really good battler. So I'm glad to see him pick up 5-0 victory in his favor. It's really nice for a nice start for the LA Style.
Yeah, but I think it's worth noting it was against the Pittsburgh Pikachus. I don't know how much we should give him credit for that 5-0, but yeah, it was still a nice 5-0. It actually should have been a 6-0 because the Garchomp died to Toxic, and that's kind of BS. Like,
Very true.
yeah, I mean it was a stupid thing. He could easily have 6-0'd it, I think, if he would have played it a little differently. But yeah, he got the 5-0.
Well, yeah, true. But I mean, nonetheless,
Chop.
getting a win is a win. So you know,
But
getting a win in this league is
I know, but
still a pretty good step.
yeah, that's good. But I mean, I'm saying like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just something about getting a 6-0. It just says like it's like you're on top of the opponent. You're looking down at him with your what's it called, fist clenched, and you're just like, get out of here. I 6-0. You're nothing to me. But a 5-0 is still nothing. It's still nothing to be. It's not. It's still something to be happy about, I'd say.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting into the trio of 4-0 winners this week, starting off with the Houston Reggie Rockets, starting Reggie hot this week against their opponents.
Ah,
That was a that was a good game, to be honest. I enjoyed it. It was against someone, I believe, right?
yes. Me and someone had a really good match. Was definitely a little bit worried about Sticky Webs, but Halucha pulled it off in the end, and I'm really glad he got to pull off the final four KOs. And I even more happy to get off my first victory because I'm very well known to not start the season off too well. So I'm glad I got my first win of the season
Yeah,
right here.
the way you played that match, it was something. It was a good game. Pretty. I think I felt like it was pretty decisive throughout the game. I know he did have a little momentum in the middle and throughout, but like I think it was pretty
Hmm.
well into your hand throughout. So we'll talk a little bit more about the game, but I'm not surprised to see you getting a win, even though I hate your team and I don't think it's that good. But I mean, I'm not surprised you won. I'm just looking. I'm like I know we're gonna get into this, but like your opponent, okay? I feel like that's the number one thing we got to look at too. I'm not trying to make an
Yeah,
excuse. I'm not trying to make an excuse that your opponent wasn't the best, and you're. I'm not trying to make that excuse, but I'm saying you played well, so I got to give credit where credit's due, and that was a good 4-0 win.
true,
Anyway,
true, true, true.
to the Baltimore Blastoise and Hero, aka Deku, picking up the 4-0 versus Dirtmons. I think this was the longest match of the week, or longest match in terms of
Yeah, he did have a long match, but just I mean he brought a all out bulky team of Suicune, Rest Talk Suicune. I believe he brought Snorlax. I believe he did. I'm not sure. And he brought a bulky Hydreigon that was just quick roost the entire match, which was insane. So the match was extremely long, but all credits to Hero for getting uh getting the dub and remaining focused throughout the entirety of the match.
Yeah, I definitely say that, but then again, I like to bring up the opponent factor again. He wasn't playing a very hot coach, at least not. He doesn't have a history of being the best coach or the best team in the league. So I mean, it was a good win by Hero nonetheless. He did play really
Hmm.
solid. I think he could have ran some more offense, like like you said, he did run a bulky set, a bulkier sets. I mean, he could have ran a little more offense, I think, and pulled it off. Like he just didn't. I don't know. I don't know what it was in his mind. But we'll go back into the teams and look at what he could have done better, maybe, and what I don't know. I think he could have won that more decisively and more, maybe even 6-0'd him because of just the skill level. Just the skill gap is that great between the two that I think
True, very
he
true.
6-0'd him. And he just put a little too much, what's it called? A little too much thought into the match, maybe. All right, moving on to the,
Man, maybe so.
yeah, I mean, we'll get into the match. But moving on to the fourth 4-0 of the week, and that is Tottenham Hotspurs against the Baltimore Vikings. It was a good match, but throughout the match, he had the momentum throughout. I felt like for most of the game, and especially we'll get into the matchup a little more, but like just some dumb plays by Rangers team. It was just some poor
Yeah,
coaching on that team this week. We'll have to
yeah,
see.
it was a really good match, and with his team especially, much like Hero's team, it's one of those teams. Once it starts getting momentum, it's hard to stop it. Especially with a lot of the setup supers on his team. So kudos to him for picking up a very solid W against a very worthy opponent, I would say.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Moving on to the 2-0 victor of the week and the sixth seed at the moment, the Ottawa Centrets and the Cali Kid Canadian boy. All right.
well, go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about this matchup. I thoroughly like this match. I felt Cali had the momentum throughout the match, but towards the end though, it came down to the wire. I believe his Sylveon had cute charm, so that led him to a what's it called? That was a very close call at the end, and especially since I think he didn't get a crit at the end. I think Cali got a crit Iron Head or something like that. Something happened. I'm not entirely sure. But I don't know. Kelly kind of survived it. He kind of survived through this week, I think. Like he had the momentum throughout. But then again, you got to remember, Callie has a history of choking in the big moments. Whether it be he gets axed, whether it be he makes a misplay, whether it be he makes a dumb switch, he does this every time. It's not a new thing. I think Callie, this is going to cost him in the end. I know he did get the win this week, but I just think he just makes some poor judgment decisions, and I don't know. Maybe it's just his prep isn't right all the time. Maybe I'm expecting too much out of him, but I mean, you gotta expect that much out of him. He is playing against some of the best players like best players ever, like best player ever in IPSL history. In Schmeb, he's gonna be playing Hero. He's gonna be playing you even. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be it's
I mean, I'm really glad he pulled off the victory. Shout out to my boy Cali. It was definitely a tough match. I would definitely one of the top three matches in my odds for this weekend. It was a really back and forth match, especially with a lot of the hacks that was going on throughout the game. So I'm really glad he was able to work his way around the hacks and be able to pick up a W here this week on his first week at that.
Yeah, it was a nice win. It was a nice win. I'll give Cali credit where it's due. I believe Cali did play well enough to win, but I don't think that was a winning. That's going to be enough. Like that kind of play, and just that level is going to be enough to win him in the future. Although
Hmm.
that was one match, so I can't really judge anything based off of just one match. So, but I can tell you that that kind of play is not going to work in the big boy leagues.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, Cali always gets failed by hacks, but hacks isn't always going to affect. I mean, it always affects the game, but it won't always be present, is what I'm trying to say. So, if Cali gets lucky enough, he may have a somewhat hack-free season and make his way to the playoffs if he's lucky, like I said.
I think he'll be lucky enough to do that at least, because he is the best team. But I don't know. I just think the coach is a little short wired in the head of sometimes. Sometimes.
Hmm.
I'm not. I didn't mean it like always. All right. So moving on to the San Diego Wingos and Thunderbug and their matchup between the Ottawa Centrics. Like we said, we're gonna try not to talk a little bit about the matches too much because we're gonna try to go into a little more detail about that in the next one. But yeah, it's no surprise that they're at the seven. I kind of projected them to be a middle of the road team throughout and pull ahead in the late, like as a dark horse. That's what I meant. I thought they were
Yeah.
gonna be pretty like mediocre, mediocrity throughout the regular season. But then when final weeks roll around, he's gonna get wins necessary. He's going to propel himself into the into possibly the six or five seed and make playoffs, and he's going to be a threat like for anyone, and for
Um.
even the number one seed. What are your
Well, I
thoughts?
mean, personally, for me, I don't think that. I think he'll still be like a middle ranked team, but I think he'll fall just like one game short. If not, he'll probably be somewhere between the middle and the bottom. So I would say between eighth and tenth spot. He'll be somewhere around there. I don't think he'll sneak his way to the playoffs just because of the make of his team. And I feel like if he makes a couple of free agent transactions, he might be able to get it. But as of now, I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that and why you think that. But yeah, it could go either way, I'd say. But I think he is definitely middle of the round. I think he's a little higher middle of the round, like six, seven, maybe five if he's lucky. But I don't think he's any higher. And yeah, his ceiling is low, but his floor is even lower. You know what I mean? So like you know what I mean when I'm saying that? Like his potential is not very high. Like it's at the four seed, five seed. That's the highest potential I see him having, and his ceiling
Yeah.
is 12. I mean his floor is 12. So he's definitely like around there, I think, and it's gonna be tough to see how he plays, because I don't think he has the thing is I don't think he has confidence in himself and in his team, and I think he sometimes doesn't take it serious enough, which I think is serious. It's not serious, but it's like I think that's what's holding him back at the end of the day.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Moving on to the number eight seed, the Baltimore Raikus, coming off a pretty tough loss. Trust me, I know about it. I know about losing like that in week one, but it wasn't a fun match for me actually. I really was not having fun with the right with the Vaporeon. Spurs just played better than me. The thing is, I feel like I didn't run enough setup. Like I feel like that's one thing that helps you win matches. Because if you have that threat of Dragon Dancer, if you have that threat of a Calm Mind Sweeper, if you have that threat of a Speed Boost Sweeper, Calm Mind, yeah, I said Calm Mind, Agility, Swords Dance, whatever it may be, I feel like that's enough to just if you have that in your mind, like if you have that in the back, that's enough to win games when all else is lost. But like I didn't have that in this game.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'll be. I'll tell you guys, I didn't have any setup sweepers this matchup. And I think that's important, at least to have one or two setup sweepers as just a late game
Yeah. I,
option, which
I
I think
mean,
is important.
honestly, as far as the Raikus, this was one of my surprise teams that didn't pull out their week one victory. The team is very well known for starting off strong, maybe lose like a couple of games in the middle of the season, but typically this team starts and ends strong. And to start off on a you know a 4-0 loss was a little bit surprising to me. But then again, against the team that you were facing, or yeah, the Rikers were facing, um, it was a little bit challenging, I could tell, for the team just off of the makeup alone. And like I said, we're not going to get too detailed into the matchups for as far as the matches go, but I could tell on paper when I was looking at the schedule, this was definitely going to be a rougher matchup for you and your team.
Yeah, it was a tough. I'm not going to go into detail, but it was a pretty tough matchup, and I do think Spurs does have the edge on me in skill wise. But I'm not going to that's giving credit to Spurs and not that's giving all the credit to Spurs, and he did good job and won the match. Moving on
Hmm.
to the number nine, like I said, moving on to number nine. And the third team in the L train. By the way, guys, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are going to be the L train. They're going to board the L train. So San Diego Wingos, Baltimore Raikus, Portland Poplios, Seattle Marowaks, Pittsburgh Pikachus, Aberdeen Iron Scarms board the L train. Just get on it and just go away. You're on the L train, the entire L train. All right, so moving on. So let's talk about the number 9 seed. I had to get that out of the way. Portland Poplios and someone who's been someone who has been a sort of novice battler throughout his time. He had one dominant season in D League, but other than that, he's kind of just shut down after that. He starts off this week with the with the 0-4 loss to you. Talk a little bit about how he not the match, but like a little bit about his team and what you thought about the win.
Well, of course, going into the team, or into the match in general, I'll try as hard as I can not detail it too much, but he has the right team, but I guess you could say he doesn't have the right synergy. So like, I guess that's kind of what throwing him off. Like, there's like a lot of things he may be weak to in just certain mons in general, and also, um, I know typically, there's two styles of coaching, and I'm gonna try not to get too far off topic, but there's those coaches who will prep for the threats that they know that are coming, and there are those coaches that prep for literally every possible contingency. And I feel like something is that coach that preps for the main threats, and I feel like that's gonna throw him off, especially for this team, which is weak to certain types of monsters. As far as what can run through them, I feel like he prepped that way, which is what caused um, him to eventually get swept in late game by Halucha. And that's nothing of a bad thing, uh, to do, to prep for the common threats, but um, him doing that kind of cost him the match because Halucha, I saw nothing on his team was really prepared for that.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. I'd say you're right on the nail because if you're not willing to prep for everything, then you're not taking account to everything, basically. And if you're not doing
Yeah.
that, then what are you doing? You're not gonna win. You're not playing winning. What's it called? Winning level.
Winning Pokemon, I guess. Winning battling, I guess.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I'd say that's the best way to describe it. Yeah, you're not gonna win if you play like that. And I think definitely he didn't play battling or Showdown League, whatever. At all. Moving on to Dermans and the Seattle Marowaks. Tough loss for him this week. Being he did have a hot streak coming off last season. Starts off with the loss, but again, it's not the end of the day getting a loss week one. I want all the coaches to remember that you win this week, it says a lot. It doesn't say a lot. You lost this week, it doesn't say too much either. Because then again, one game at the very beginning does not define your season. So it's important to remember that.
Yeah,
It's
very
important
true.
to keep your head high and not get too cocky and too comfortable with your performance and expect that to be an every week norm. But yeah, I definitely did. I was
True, very
a little
true.
sad for Dirtmans this week because he was playing against
Well,
the best player in the league, I'd say.
well, yeah, like I wouldn't spend my few points, but playing against Hero, um, like honestly, not just counting his team, playing against Hero in general is a tall task for anyone to do. That's asking for a lot to even pull off a victory. So I'm not gonna hate too much on Dirk Moss, but I do believe in this match. Like I said, I'm not gonna talk. We're not getting too detailed about the matches, but as I was watching the match, I felt like he could have made better plays to possibly bring himself back into this match because I feel like he did have a way to win. he just didn't see it or utilize his battling skills to bring out that way to win.
Yeah, I definitely feel you. He just didn't. It's like he just like these players like oh what's it called? Especially these three right here: Portland Poplio, Seattle Mariners, and I'd say Aberdeen Iron Skirms. They underrate themselves. They may lose. I'm telling them right now, you can lose all 10 of your weeks. You can lose all 9 of your battles this week. But that doesn't mean you get discouraged and you stop trying at week 10 or even if you lose week 1. Doesn't mean you just think you're going to lose week 2. Because I say, I know that someone always says, I'm going to lose this week. If you say you're going to lose basically. Unless you're
Yeah.
and then you play mind tricks and you say you're going to lose, but then you actually win. It's kind of a dick thing to do, but whatever. Yeah, but anyway, I definitely Yeah, I definitely don't understand why they do that, and I think someone needs to have more confidence and remember that he did have a rocket hard, ro- a fiery hot season last season, and he has the potential to play that way again, even after just 1 week of IPSL.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 11 and the Pittsburgh Pikachus. Getting the
I
5, I think he should have gone in '06. I think Pittsburgh Pikachu's he's the worst. He's the worst skill wise in the league, and I don't think that's a messed up thing to say. I think it's the fact, and I think it's true. And you could see it with his level of play in this game. It just wasn't good at all. Like you could tell it was like he didn't know what he was doing. That's what I think. Like I was watching the match, and he was just making some of the like not I wouldn't say the stupidest plays, but like I do not understand why he went for wasted his Z move on Primarina, his Flynium Z on Primarina when that obviously wasn't going to kill. First, like it's not going to kill. I don't get what the point of that was, unless Jay.
yeah. I mean, for me, I'm, it's hard to say things nicely about bad things because it's just almost impossible. But I'm gonna try to say this as nice as possible. Um, Jets, when you watch this, you'd have to definitely up your skills in battling, not just league format, but just battling in general. Like you have to work on like people say, you have to learn to crawl before you walk. You have to learn to walk before you can fly. Jets is trying to fly, but he hasn't even crawled out of
Oh,
stage one yet.
damn.
Like he has to get to that point. Like he has to
That's
get to a
hard.
point where he can be a competent battler. And you because I mean Jets' team. I mean I know we knocked on it, but it has the makeup to be great. However, if Jets wants to have any chance at a winning season, not playoffs, but a winning season, because just because you have a winning record doesn't always mean you're guaranteed playoffs. But if he wants a chance at a winning season, he himself needs to get more competent as a battler. He needs to learn to crawl before he can walk. He needs to learn to walk before he can fly. End of story.
I like that. That was very well said, I'd say. But I'd say like it's kind of like a football player, I guess. I like football, so we're gonna go to that analogy. If you don't practice, if you don't lift weight, if you don't lift weights during the training camp, if you don't even condition as the season's going on, you don't run a mile every other day, you don't run a mile every day, you don't do this, you don't practice, you don't go to the team practice, you don't learn new routes, you don't prep, like not prep as in like mock battle. I meant like just prep as in like be a better football player in general. Like it's just
Yeah,
work, and that's goes for specifically for him, for Jets. If you're not gonna put in work, what do you expect out of it? You can excuse yourself and say, "Oh wow, I don't take Pokemon seriously." But it's like, come on, man. Like, why are you here then if you're not gonna take anything seriously? Like, you're out here to try to get a win. You're out here to try to get a dub.
yeah.
You don't
You got to be here.
participate.
You got to be here to like put effort in. Like I mean, this is. I mean, yeah, people. We do this for fun, but we're competitors at the end of the day, so that you at least want to try and go out and win a match every time you go to a battle.
Yeah, and it just seems like he doesn't want to win, and that's what's kind of sad. But it is what it is. It's just I'm sure he puts in time to prep. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm saying like it's just you gotta up the ante a little bit and maybe ladder more. Maybe even ask for help. I'd say that's a good thing. That's a good start actually. Asking for help, like whether it be Schmeb or even someone else you know. You don't have to be anyone in this league. It can be anyone
Yeah,
or someone who's good and ask him for help. Maybe just battle him a few times, learn the ways, and I think he'll go places after that. Anyway,
yeah, very true. Like asking for help will always, lead to greater success, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely does. Or even just playing and trying a little harder, which wouldn't be so hard because it looks like he's not trying at all sometimes. Anyway, moving on to Aberdeen
Yeah.
Iron Scarms and coached by Yoshi Blaze. He is the conductor of the L train this week in that number 12 spot. He took a 0-6 loss. I've told him Swampert is not a good mon. He goes out there and picks up Mega Mawile. I mean, not Mega Mawile. He picks up regular Mawile in place of Rampardos. I don't think that's gonna help him like much. I think that's gonna help him. Okay, I'm gonna correct myself. I think it's gonna help him, but I don't think it's gonna help him avoid getting 6-0'd like that. I just think he has to prep better. Like I'm trying not to go into the matchup, but I have to because it looks like he just didn't prep for Pylo Swine. I don't know if you saw that match. I don't know what.
Yeah, I've seen it. It was just like Pilot Swine just ran through everything on the team, which was
Like,
insane. Like honestly,
yeah.
I think every Mon and like I mean, I wasn't gonna knock on Yoshi's prep too much, but I mean every Mon that Smith brought could just body this team so bad. It was insane. Like everything on his team could literally just switch 6-0 like 6-0 this man at a like at the job. It was insane. Like even like Rotom. Like I'm not trying to get too much to the master. Med brought Rotom. If he wanted to, he could have ran a set that made Rotom sweep, and I feel like he could have done it just because it was Smith and just because of the
Yeah,
the prep around this team was just
you're not wrong. Like, it just seemed like like this was just another case of I think it was just poor prep. Like I don't know. Like I mean, it was just a little poor prep on his on Aberdeen Iron Scar's part. But I mean, I'm not gonna give him too much pressure. I mean, but he did get 0-6, which is terrible. But I think he was playing the best player in the league. So, and possibly the best player that'll ever be in IPSL ever. So
yeah.
it's a tough feat. So I'm not gonna discredit him too much. But anyway, that was the IPSL standings, and we talk a little bit about that. For now, we're gonna move on and look at the schedule, and we're gonna look ahead at some of the week 2 battles.